Hey everybody, welcome back to the ongoing Theory of Everything presentation series. This is part 13, video 1. Hopefully I'll be able to encompass everything in one video, may carry over. I'm going to have 15 total parts to the whole entire series, so as you can see, we're getting close to the end. I have everything prepared. I'll be interested to see what kind of feedback I get in the up and coming future. Hopefully I get some viewership in addition to the people that already watch my channel. We left off talking about electropollution. I mentioned the Russian woodpecker. It was a big part of my Chernobyl trip in 2019. I will post links to this on this introduction, and also the last video, number 12. I posted links to that trip if you're interested to see that. Kind of a cool, interesting aspect of my Ukraine tour trip, or trip in 2019 when I went there. I talked about how there's like a bigger agenda to like create this psycho-civilized society using this electropollution that where the wealthy elites live. You know, you don't have this. Also, I've noticed if you go underground, like subways, you notice a difference, a tunnel as well, far out in the ocean, or other countries as well. And it's like mainly in this country, you know, what I often wonder is like after the depopulation agendas are done, you know, are they going to stop it, or is it like really just to create this slave race that they want? And that's probably the end game, to be honest with you. I'm hoping that, you know, there's good people in the world that stand up against this tyranny and evil. And I'd rather see, like, you know, just everything end than, you know, to have to be enslaved, you know, to a electro confinement of sorts. So the chemtrails, there's 35 to 50 purposes behind them. Literally, like I said, from population control, decreasing intelligence, hiding UFOs, weather modification, you know, just right out, like I said, just control the masses, just to like dumb you down, to make you subservient to your captors. And, you know, it takes a lot of higher consciousness to break free from all this, as I've done. And this is why I fight, the fight day in and day out. And the reason, like I said, they use aluminum mainly and other heavy conductive metals. It's because, like I said, it bioaccumulates in your body, and they can use the 5G, and like through Faraday's laws of induction, it was just zap you, and they probably at some point can just kill everybody with the flip of a switch. Maybe that's the intent. I don't know, but so I've like been hot on the whole electropollution trail for years and years and years now, and I've tried to contact utility companies. And if you call a utility company and mention this, you'll probably get put on a list, first off. Second off, they will play absolutely retarded and fight this until their grave. There's only like a handful of countries in Europe and Canada that acknowledge the deleterious effects to our human physiology. It really attacks your DNA at the core as well. There's like totally suppressed studies that show that living under power lines causes higher rates of cancer. You know, it's not really even debatable in my opinion. Also, higher rates of suicide and mental illness and dementia and Alzheimer's. You know, it goes on and on and on. And it's really sad in my opinion. You know, we live in such a country that, you know, plays these evil games. And there's obviously a bigger global agenda, or I guess this country is not really controlled by the people almost that you think it is. So, you know, my point here is that other countries, you know, like I said, have become so advanced at their war tactics that they can conquer you from like within, like, you know, like create like all this technology for you to buy, and then like make you basically to the point where you're almost like addicted to it, and then it'll destroy a whole entire generation. I've told you, I believe that like you look at the Hollow Earth aliens, or like these alien race of people that wanted to remain anonymous, and once the U.S. started using nuclear weapons, they had like no choice but to make themselves known. And then like there's UFOs that supposedly crashed, and the U.S. probably thought like, oh man, you know, we're gonna go take this stuff and back engineer it, and they did. They allowed them to do that so that they would like the technology would amass itself to a point where like it would bring down a whole generation, A, and B, it would be hackable by like the Russians and the Chinese. That's just my, you know, theory on it, but take it for what it's worth. I mentioned in the last presentation, and I'll mention this one again, that I believe that we lost the Cold War, and that there was a succession planned to occur over 40 to 75 years. During this time, they allowed a slave race to manifest and build infrastructure and cities to basically be handed over in the final stages of the depopulation agenda, when it would occur. One of my old bosses used to love Frank Zappa. I never really was a big fan myself, but he was like, real underground, like, had his own private label and stuff, and he always said that like they would never have a straight all out nuclear war like to go bombing cities, because like it would waste too much good infrastructure and too much good architecture. Like they can use, like the people that were going to fight you would know this, and they would, I guess, in my opinion now it's self-evident that they would just like probably set them off in other areas, and like the weather and the winds would carry it. But a side note, our infrastructure in this country is absolutely atrocious. It's almost like by design. Our bridges are falling apart, our pipelines are, our electrical infrastructure. Like in my opinion, like Africa, if assuming that everything doesn't end in an all-out nuclear holocaust or God knows what, Africa will have like the best advantage to this whole thing. Like when they like, I don't even really want to see Africa build like too like crazy. I'd rather just see it stay pristine virgin land, and there's probably like amazing energy there. But they will have the ability of like learning from everybody's mistakes. So, like when they build, they'll be able to build right and like build for the long term, and like have like amazing engineering and sustainable solutions. It's probably as well as aesthetically appealing, efficient structures. I could talk for days about my hatred for big oil, but if you ever traveled the world, you would see that this country is totally designed to be inefficient and consume unnecessary energy. And I mean, this is not an understatement. Like, people would probably debate me on this, but if you go to other countries, you'll see like everything is totally designed to just be inefficient, to like waste extra energy. And like if you think about that as like a philosophy, that's really self-defeating and very sad, to resort to such measures. In my opinion, there's absolutely nothing more wasteful than the energy we spend on the whole DC Politico spectacle that goes on. Used to be Monday through Friday, but now it's Monday through Thursday, and they have these 4-day weekends or 4-day weeks. Now nobody's working; everybody's doing teleworking, and it's all a spectacle. Jesse Ventura once said it's like the Washington, they call it the WWF, the Washington Wrestling Federation. Like on TV, they look like they're beating each other up. Behind the scenes, they're all friends. They're all in cahoots with each other. At this point in time, every single member of Congress is basically controlled by this, like a part of or controlled by the CIA, or some type of globalist venture, big oil, technology, you name it. It's like everything is completely controlled. Nothing short of China, and like it's under this guise that we have choice, and that's what's even worse about it. We had the resources here. Like, I don't even like oil. It's not necessary. We should never be drilling oil. But we had the resources here to drill our own oil if we really wanted to. But yet, we decided to ship Brent crude oil in massive tankers across an entire ocean for years, for decades and decades and decades. And, this has created one of the biggest transfers of wealth in the history of humanity. I mean, like, this just absolutely sent trillions and trillions of dollars to the Saudis, and like other countries as well. Many of them, they don't like us. They sit in their palaces and absolutely just laugh, at the games that we play in this country. It's absolutely a joke to them. And it's, I'll get into this all more as we go along here, but it's no longer about the money. The elites have billions and trillions of dollars. They could just print it if they wanted to, which they do. They could basically print it in the stock market, and other ways they manipulate the game. But it's all about control of the masses. And this ties into like kind of what I was saying here. Also, complete control of genetics, and just my quote over. I've talked about like basically follow the money, look for the lies, Ted Gunderson, but just follow the money trail. Let's just stay with that. And for quite some time, it's been, to take the whole agenda has been to take power from the people and to transfer it to the greedy, tyrannical thugs. Our First, Second, and Fourth Amendment, and even 10th Amendment states' rights are vital. The big pushback is the Second Amendment. I truly believe that if you own guns, that you're probably on some type of eugenics list, unless you're a cop or like, work for the government or something like this, I'm willing to give my life for my guns. I'm not gonna, I'm to that point now. Like, I see how everything's playing out, and I have an amazing history of my entire family dedicated military service all the way back to the Civil War, maybe even before that. And it's just very sad how they treat people in this country who even serve this country. And talking about the truth behind the mass shootings, how they're all staged in an attempt to basically try to make guns look bad and take people's guns. And for the rest of these presentations, I want to do some clarifications and set the record straight on a few various topics. I talked in the past about Hong Kong and how there was this 99-year deal with China, and how nobody talks about that on the news, and they try to make China look bad, like they're like tyrants. They just wanted their land back, and the UK to honor a deal. It's the UK's fault that they built up this amazing mecca of world trade and had to hand it back over. I see that as I see the fact that China is standing up to the Zionist-controlled UK as nobility. At least somebody in this world is standing up to them. And so let's go to Iran. In the 1950s, they had a Shah, and he wanted basically to take all of this oil wealth, that they had. Iran, a very rich oil, Middle Eastern oil nation, as you probably know, and they wanted to share it with the entire country, basically make a huge middle class, because it was a resource. It didn't belong to any one person; it belonged to the whole country. It's in the ground, and subsequently, the evil, greedy Zionists, basically, it's still understood the ramifications of creating this huge egalitarian style government, and they realized it was the consequences, and companies like British Petroleum and the evil American CIA instilled their own form of government in Iran until the revolution in 1979. In 1979, the Iranian Revolution overthrew the Shah that the CIA put in, basically, and British Petroleum, and they've been fighting for their independence ever since. And this is why Iran is painted as this huge boogeyman, and they're really the good ones. They're all Shia Muslims as well, and the Sunni Muslims are with the Saudis that create these wars between the Muslims, and it's really a joke that nobody else talks about this or sees it like I do. And even I said, the Jewish people in Israel actually know that the Shia Muslims are the good ones, and there's a harmony there, but it's the evil greed that is manifested. But they saw, like I said, this whole egalitarian idea, and they said, no, we're going to cut this off before it ever gets off the ground. Absolutely not. They've been trying to start war in Iran forever. Someday, it's an absolute dream of mine to travel there. I want to camp in the desert. They have these tours where you can go camp in the desert, see the amazing architecture, the city of Tehran, absolutely beautiful. The Fire Temple and other ancient Zoroastrianism sites, really cool. Not an easy country to travel to, and they're definitely on my list. Uzbekistan, another one as well, right on the Silk Road. Look up, I mentioned numerous times on my channel, please look up Iran architecture and Uzbekistan architecture and ask why they don't teach this in schools, and could we make this today if we wanted to. And there's something that's known as the OFAC sanctions list. Basically, it's a blacklist of certain individuals and countries that are put on it by the Zionists. And a few countries there's only a few countries that are on it, really. And Russia, Ukraine. Under Obama in 2014, he actually put southern Ukraine, and basically made all of Ukraine on this blacklist. And if you travel there, there's issues and bank transfers, other things as well. Iran's on there, North Korea's on there, and the people, you can actually go online and download the OFAC sanctions list, and it's amazing. There's all these people from Africa, from Kazakhstan, from Russia, from China, and I bet you these people are good people. And they're not allowed to have any banking connections to the U.S. or invest in our markets or anything. And it's just that alone creates terrorism in and of itself. And I really believe certain agencies in our country are responsible for it. I feel I'm on some type of blacklist. If you ever visited Ukraine, the city of Odessa, absolutely amazing place. Talked about in the past. And I love Odessa Beach. One of my favorite places. Like, probably all European beaches are amazing. Someday I'd like to travel to more of them. But there used to be a bolstering economy there with cruise ships and many tourists. And like after Obama put them on the OFAC sanctions list, the cruise ships could no longer come there, and like it like basically destroyed a huge portion of their economy. You know, North Korea is another vilified nation. Look up the city of Pyongyang, however you say it, and you'll see that. Like, tell me if there's a city in this country as nice as it is there. And you know, like China, like they have 370-mile-an-hour maglev trains in China. I mean, absolutely insane. And like, there's another little conspiracy. I must believe that they knew like there was going to be some type of conflict that would arise in the future, and like they built all these fake cities. There's like all these fake cities in China where there's nobody living in them. And I almost believe it's like the Chinese said, okay, we know there's going to be a war, and like you screw you and your fake and your failing infrastructure and your divided people that are divided amongst themselves. We're going to build fake cities where nobody's even going to live in them, and like just to show that like we'll get through this, or like we don't care if we're going to go to war, or we're expecting a nuclear holocaust to happen. And I'm going to get into my game theory later on. But again, America is not controlled by who you think it is. And like, you can take it like for what it's worth. Like, some people think like, oh yeah, Trump and all this and that. There's this. I'm going to show you this. This is a diplomatic immunity card. And I'll post a link to it. But like, there's people who have these diplomatic immunity cards in this country, like walking around today. And it says this person has been duly notified. This person has been duly notified to the State Department of State, and under international law enjoys immunity from criminal jurisdiction. The bearer shall not be liable for any form of arrest or detention, but may be given a notice of a violation. The bearer shall be treated with due respect, and all appropriate steps shall be taken to prevent any attack on this bearer's person, freedom, or dignity. And it has a link right here. Like, there's people that have these cards. Like, a lot of them are diplomats. Like, there's people straight from the Russian mafia, the Italian mafia, the other places that have these cards. I'm not joking with you. Like, people that have passport stamps where they don't even need to get a visa. I met these people. Like, they can just stamp their own visa in their passport and go wherever they want in the entire world. And, like, it's really interesting when you get into passport strength and you look at the countries that have like the strongest passports. Like, Germany's one of them. Every year it changes. It's really, really interesting. But the way America's heading is like, we're going to have a weak one here soon. We're not the strongest. We're relatively strong compared to other nations. But understand that every single American president has been a puppet and a shill, and a spineless wonder. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to post a link of this. Vladimir Putin, like, this is what really woke me up to this. He has this thing on YouTube here, and like, he says he's talked at the time. I think he said he talked to 4 presidents. It's probably like 6 now with Trump and incoming Biden. He's talked to 6 American presidents, and he says that as soon as they basically inaugurated, there's a sit down in the Oval Office, and they are given a briefcase, and they said, and they're told by 2 men in a black suit. He says, just like the one I have on. He said that this is how things are done. And like, I guess there's like a itinerary in the briefcase of like things not to touch, like basically not to say. You get what I'm saying. Is it the Jewish oil mafia, the big 5 oil companies? Is it the Chinese? Is it like an alien race or like alien controller? I'm not going to get into it much more. But I've talked in the past about how, the big 5 oil CEOs are more powerful than every American sitting president, and they play golf together. Like, that's how things are done, essentially. I see this changing, as they imminently can't hide like the whole lie about global climate change and other things. People are starting to wake up. But if you've ever read The Art of War, I mentioned before how like the first chapter says that Russia and China would never go to war with each other because they're so deeply embedded in genetic roots of origin. There's a book by William Cooper, and it's a former naval intelligence officer, and it's called Behold a Pale White Horse. I never actually read this book. This girl told me about it years ago. It's kind of interesting, and it's a real long book, and that's why I didn't get into it. But it's like the cover I really like, and it says like basically it talks. There's this whole chapter dedicated to silent wars and secret weapons, and like just check into it if you're into it. But it really captured my my understanding of like all this, how it correlates together. And I've never seen any other presentations like mine that really go into this extent, basically saying that the U.S. lost the Cold War and like planned this succession, and there's deeper agendas that exist. And I talked about the song "Tears for Fears." Everybody wants to rule the world, and there's a lot of truth to that. Like there's a lot of symbolism in the music video for that as well. Like there's like this big Great Wall, like a stone wall that represents, in my opinion, the Great Wall of China, and this kid is dressed up like a cop, which represents the police state, and other things as well. You can learn a lot just from symbolism. I believe that this William Cooper was a divinely inspired individual, and like a lot of other people have probably tried to come forward with similar material at times. And like I almost feel like the work that I'm doing here in this presentation, that there's like a copy of it that exists, and that like other people, like there's like probably like almost like it's divinely inspired, and like there's like people that like almost probably said the exact on the lines of the exact same thing that I'm saying. And it either like the CIA has like a whole stack of these presentations that they keep suppressed, or they just kill these people. Who knows? But it's like I feel like a copy of it exists, and like that is part of the matrix, like in a deeper aspect. And one topic just leads to another, and so on. It never really ends. And I really believe, like I said, there's huge wars that are going on behind the scenes that you won't see on the news. And understand that the news, when you do read it or you do see it, it's been filtered at least 3 times by the CIA, by other entities, by like maybe like China and Russia, maybe the EU and the UK. Like basically like at least three times it's filtered before it'll ever get to like to your eyes. And that's not like a lie. Like if you had like the ability to do what I'm doing with this channel, and you actually could start your own news organization, you would have more power than the American president, in my opinion. There's so much power with the printing press. It's not even funny. But there's many reasons I've talked about, that are going to cause this inevitable third war, like this inevitable conflict, which will never be basically resolved with like everybody being happy. And like the fishing grounds are a perfect example. Intellectual property, the third temple in Israel, free energy. Who's going to bring out free energy? Just to name a few. I've seen the evils of greed and inheritance. And look at who has the prime real estate. These people that have 5 houses with 2 or 3 people in them. The stolen clone genetics from Russia, and ultimately, really, they go back to China. It infuriates me. It absolutely is just mind-boggling. Patents, another thing that really bothers me. Like it's some evil, greedy white man concept to like constantly need to take, credit for like, and give credit like claim to like for, ideas and inventions. And like half these things were thought of, infinite years before. And like, it's not in the nature of like other countries to like be so greedy. And like, it's like more like about the bigger picture of like humanity. And like, like when you come out with an idea, it's like, do you do it for money, or do you do it for the purpose and soul of like what inspired you to do it to begin with? If I controlled the show, I would like basically turn all the beachfront real estate into global parks. In Odessa, it's like this. There's like very, very few homes that are actually built on the beach. It's really interesting. Like I just see that as like another like issue as well. I'm not a fan of borders by like the nature of God's design, but obviously I believe that given like population density and propensity, it's inevitable to have conflict there. I want to stop right now. And like some of the stuff I say, people might take me, like there's this huge conspiracy in my opinion. People are like, oh, he's a communist or he's a socialist. And it's like, this is what the people that are rich, like the Republicans and the people who have money say. It's like every time this is how they create their little divide. It's like, oh, they're communists or socialists, and make it look like it's something bad. The truth is they're the communists and socialists. I am what's called an egalitarian. I'm an egalitarian, a constitutionalist, and a libertarian. Like, if you don't know what egalitarian is, it's like a state where everybody is more equal, like a huge middle class. And like that's what I stand for. Not like people super, super, super rich, and then like, the middle class has just been dwindling away. We have reached a point where it is hard, if not impossible, to find meaningful work. And this is really what it comes down to. It's like, what's everybody going to work at, like Home Depot or something? Like it's impossible almost to find meaningful work. Like it's the essence of my life and all these presentations I do. I have not paid a nickel for my channel. Nobody's like ever given me a nickel. At the end here, I'll give you my PayPal, and if anybody wants to send me some money, I'll greatly appreciate it, and put it towards more presentations or scientific research. I have plenty of stuff that I could do with it, but I don't do this for the money. I do it for the betterment of everybody, and even the people that don't like me and that are my enemies could watch this and take my information and benefit from it. And that's how you get the ultimate revenge with these people. The truth is that you need to find a passion in your life and find something that you do with love and do with fire. And this is what I started the whole series on. And I'm not going to build up to some sappy ending. It's not necessary. You kind of understand that's where I'm getting at. It's very, it doesn't take a rocket scientist or astrophysicist to come up with that. The real estate war is big. This is why they killed an entire generation with heroin. I'm going to stop here actually, and I'm going to continue the rest of it in part 2 of part 13, video 2. I'll see you in a second, folks.